So, Premier League teams were taking a break to go into the cup competitions, and lots of teams will either be coming back happy from their cup adventures, or there might just be a few frowns on the faces. But this is what the Premier League is all about, and we're going to be looking at some very, very important games this weekend in the Premier League. And we'll be starting our prediction with Fulham versus Manchester United. This is an early kickoff on Saturday. Manchester United are in all kinds of problems right now. I think to say that Manchester United are in a crisis would be a really, really big understatement. How do you think, Femi, this game is going to shape up? Man United are going to Craven Cottage to play Fulham. They've struggled at home recently. Can they put a performance away from home and come with a victory? Who do you think is going to take this one?
Well, at the minute, it's quite evident that Man United are struggling. So it's not going to be a surprise if they struggle in this very one again. But what I think is also important to find out is how Fulham done at home this season. What's been their performances like? They've been. Last season was more of like with Mitrovic in the team. They had a very good home form, but this season has not been the same. They've been a bit of hit and miss. Chelsea went there and won 2-0, didn't they? So maybe they would wither against a supposed big team. Because Chelsea, you would have said a supposed big team. Maybe they will wither. Or maybe they will rise up to the occasion and really have a go at.
Fulham's home form have been decent. They won against Sheffield United, who you don't like. They also won against They've won against Luton as well. So you could say
if you beat Sheffield and you beat Luton at home, that's not really a measure of, that's not really a great yardstick to measure your own form, is it? Anyone who can't beat promoted teams who have been absolutely, I can't say shocking. Sheffield have been shocking, but Luton not so much. They went to Everton and won. Everybody's been winning at Everton of late as well. So I'm not sure you can count that as well. So really and truly, that's why I said against a supposed big team, you can tell that Marco Silva has done a great job with that team. They were lucky to keep Palina, even though he had gone to Bayern Munich, he had done the video, even his medical, everything was all set. He's back in the team, he signed a 5-year contract, so even Iwobi can't get into the team these days. He played in the cup the other day. So overall, I'll probably say Man United may get a draw from this because Fulham are not firing on all cylinders at home. But I'm not sure they can beat Fulham. That's just the one aspect I have to say. I don't think they will beat Fulham. So overall, my very calculative bet tells me it might just end up as a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I mean, this is a difficult game. I think that, Man United have to win. They have to win. Considering, they've just lost to Man City heavily. They've just lost to Newcastle heavily as well. Now, both defeats were at home, and perhaps playing away from home might provide some comfort for Manchester United. So I'm going to go with a narrow Manchester United victory in this game. I think that they have to respond, and very rarely do they go back-to-back games without putting a decent performance in. So Fulham don't score a lot of goals. So I'm not quite sure where the goals are going to be coming from. Like you said, Mitrovic is no longer there. He was the main source of goals for Fulham. So I've got to look at Manchester United and the balance of play, considering that they have more likely goal scorers there. I am going to go with a narrow 1-0 victory for Manchester United, only because I think that Manchester United are capable of putting the ball at the back of the net.
I don't know who's capable there. Is he... what's his name, Anthony, or is he Oijland who hasn't scored yet? I think he scored one Premier League goal, or he hasn't scored yet. I'm not even sure. I think he's got one. He scored in the Champions League, but not.
He's scoring in the Champions League. Scoring in the Champions League. Premier League's a bit different, but I think that
exactly. So
somebody has.
Is he Martial, who quite strangely has survived Luis Van Gaal, survived Mourinho, survived Rangnick, survived, and he's looking like he's going to survive Ten Hag as well. And
I think
he hasn't scored a lot of goals for them, has he? So I don't know where the goals are going to come from.
Well, I think McTominay has been coming in for scoring a few goals of late, so he's a decent shout. I expect Bruno.
You have a right to it, but I don't see United scoring. Probably give them only one. Bentle's a good goalkeeper, and Fulham are playing at home. I don't see them losing.
Yeah, okay.
But it's football, anything can happen.
It is. So let's look at the next game, late kickoff in the Premier League. This is a big one because it has all the makings of a top four decider. Really, even though it's very early in the season, games like this could actually shape who goes on to win the title. How you perform against games like this might be the title. Arsenal have had a few tests. And let's say that they've had a few tough fixtures. They've played, I won't say that they've played almost all the top teams except Liverpool in this side already early on in the season, with Manchester United, Chelsea, Tottenham, Man City, all having played Arsenal. Newcastle are the latest opponent for Arsenal. But this game is at St. James's Park. So this is a very difficult game for Arsenal. Arsenal had recent success in their last trip to St. James's Park, scored 2 goals in their last trip out there. So, Femi, I'm going to start with you with this prediction. How do you see Newcastle faring against Arsenal? Do you expect them to have the upper hand, or do you expect Arsenal to go to St. James's Park and come back with 3 points?
To be honest, it's one that, and I don't want to sound despondent, but I am not looking forward to that game at all. If Jesus had been fit, I would have been looking forward to it. But without Jesus, away from home, I can't see Arsenal winning that one. Because Newcastle put 5 past Aston Villa, I remember, at home. And they're capable of scoring goals. They eat Sheffield United for 8 away from home. So, I don't know. If you look at Newcastle, they've just been sometimes unbelievable. Against PSG, scored 4 goals at home. So if you're against them and you don't work hard, you're going to lose the game guaranteed. There are no free gifts at St. James's Park. And if we don't do that work, Saka doesn't look back to his best yet since that injury he had. Martinelli is a game winner at any time, but can he do that job on his own? I'm not sure. So with a half-fit Saka, Martinelli being the only person that could probably do a job. I mean, Edin Ketia, good lad, but he can't do a job at St. James's Park at all. You have to say the truth. He's not capable of one at all. So he's not one to hold the ball up. He's not one to win battles. He's not one to win headers against Jamal Lascelles or Fabian Schär or whoever plays in that defense, or Dan Burn coming into that defense if any of those guys are still injured. And I know Target got injured the other day and might not feature. But I just can't. I mean, as much as I'm an optimist and I love Arsenal so much, this is one that I'm genuinely worried about. I hope we don't get overhauled by that St. James's crowd, especially because up top, we don't have the nous, that experience, that skill. I mean, look at us away at Sevilla. Look at what Jesus did. Look at the masterclass he put up. That's what you want to do away from home. You want someone who can absolutely boss a game and make the opposition kind of like wither. But that cauldron, that incredible stadium that Sevilla was, that didn't face Jesus one bit. That's the kind of person you want against Newcastle. Anyone else, any other team, I would have said yes. If he's a Bournemouth or get all 3, it will be a miracle. No jokes. So Saka doesn't look at it again. Martinelli is the only one who is really, and the other guy has been off form for a while as well. So I don't see where the goals are going to come from. And Martinelli can't run that defense ragged on his own, except something magical happens. But if we place Edin Ketia up top, I don't see us winning that game. That's just the reality. Without Edin Ketia, if you go and put Trossard in there, you might have a chance. But the manager has been off with his decision making of late. So I don't know if he's going to put Havertz is no good. If you had Thomas Partey to sit and then Declan Rice to go and help, that would have been the perfect game. But apart from that, I'm worried. It's Newcastle at home, I know, very, very strong, and the crowd will be on top of us as well. So Liverpool did it with 10 men, but they've got some special players, Liverpool. So let's hope a miracle happens. But the reality is, if we play Kesha, the best we'll get is a 1-1 draw. If we don't, and Jesus recovers miraculously, we might win that game. But Jesus is not going to make it. So I'm not looking forward to it. Sorry.
So what's your prediction?
I don't know what team the manager is going to play, but I know he will play in Ketchup because he seems to have an affinity for the boy. I don't know I don't know why he plays him, but I think if Ketchup plays, we're going to lose 2-1 or 3-1. Let's just put it this way. It's one that is going to go bad. So I'll just say 2-1 loss. Sorry.
2-1 to Newcastle.
Yes.
Okay. So
Minimum.
going 2-1 to Newcastle. Newcastle have played some good games at St. James's Park. They've lost once in the Premier League against Liverpool. But, the oppositions that have come into St. James's Park, I know they beat Man City at St. James's Park in a cup competition. But in the Premier League, they've had victories against the likes of Crystal Palace. So opposition.
That's a very good away from home, I hope you know.
Opposition that
and they dismantled them 4-0.
I consider
Palace don't lose games easily.
I consider Arsenal to be better than Crystal Palace. I'm not as despondent as you are. I think that Arsenal has some focus this season. Just before against Man City, we played an awful game against Lens. And we now went to Man City and we put in a performance in the team. So I expect the back line to be intact. If there's one thing that I have confidence in Arsenal is that we have a very, very good back line. When they play them, and Arteta doesn't do a lot of the shifting and stuff that he does. So you're going to have Saka and Martinelli come back into the game. Most likely Odegaard, coming back into the game. I expect Arsenal to go there and be very competitive. I don't expect us to go and, completely dominate Newcastle. But there is one thing I do notice about Newcastle recently when they play against the big teams. They are not as bullish as when they play against inferior oppositions. It might be a mentality thing, it might be a mindset, but there's a degree of cautiousness when they play against the big teams.
Man City are not small. Aston Villa are not small. They dispatched Aston Villa with style.
That was the first game of the season, right? First game of the season.
They dispatched Palace, maybe not a big team, but PSG, they don't come any bigger than that. Complete with Mbappe.
Well, we've talked about that PSG game. It was an emotional game. Returned back to the Champions League for Newcastle. So I don't think any team would have struggled with that emotion.
I think we beat them last season. They will not be lying down this time around. I'm not saying we will lose 100%, but I'm saying if there was a game that was set up for us not to win, this is one. And we would need all hands to the deck. And unfortunately, at St. James's Park, you let them pass out from the back, you've lost the game.
I'm going to back Arsenal. I'm going to back Arsenal in this game. So I'm going to back Arsenal with a 2-1 victory at St. James's Park. I think that Arsenal, going for the title, these are the games that you have to demonstrate your ambition in the league. So I'm going for a 2-1 victory to Arsenal. Let's wrap it up very quickly with a London derby. Some would argue that this is probably the two teams that are the rivals of each other. You might argue that Arsenal, Spurs are the rival, but there might be a few people out there in West London that will tell you that Spurs and London and Chelsea are the actual rivals when it comes to a derby in London. Spurs are playing Chelsea in the Monday night football kickoff. Chelsea have left their big games for the big teams. They played Liverpool incredibly close, played Arsenal incredibly close as well, and should have won that game if we're all being very, very honest. They were the better team, and somehow they let that game slip. Now they go against a Spurs team that are high-flying, not lost the game in the league, sitting right up top in the Premier League, which is something that it's very difficult for us to say as Arsenal fans, but it is the reality. The table does not lie. So I'm going to start this one. Spurs and Chelsea. They're playing at home. And I know that Chelsea have been very, very competitive, but I just can't see anything but a Spurs win. I look at Chelsea and I'm not quite sure who is the person going to be scoring the goals for them. Sterling has been doing quite good in the last couple of games, playing really decent. Jackson feels like he still needs a lot of maturity in front of the goal. His decision making is not quite there. If you look at the Arsenal game, he had a chance to put the ball in the back of the net. His decision making was not quite up there. They still have a very good defense. This is the thing with Chelsea. If you look at all their games, they are playing teams very, very close. They're just not putting the ball in the back of the net. That couldn't be more evident than the game against Brentford, where it seemed like you were thinking, well, they could play this game till today, and you're not quite sure if Chelsea were going to score a goal. That is my worry with Chelsea, which is why I'm going to tip Spurs, to win this game. And I think it's going to be 2-0. Spurs playing at home, they're high flying. It's going to take an incredible effort for Chelsea to pull anything out of this game. So I'm going to go with a 2-0 to Spurs. How do you see that game going, Femi?
Well, I don't know if the Pochettino effect would rub off on Chelsea, because if anybody knows Tottenham inside and out, Pochettino does, and he knows a lot of those players as well, even though it's been a while since he left the club. He knows their mentality as a team, even though Ange has changed a lot of it. But also, I think Reece James might start, because he's come back into the team with 2 substitute or 3 substitute appearances now. So he may be back into the first team. He's the club captain. He's capable of setting them up at corners, free kicks, dead ball situations, even on the ball as well in game situations. So Cucurella can go back to left back. I just really think there is a chance because of that, because of Pochettino, and because of Reece James coming back into the team. I look at that Spurs team and I don't see outstanding players. I just see players who are outperforming their normal best. They're just almost like they're possessed these first 10 games of the season. That's not something you can sustain over the course of a season. So I don't know when the wheels will start to come off, and they're Spurs anyway. So the wheels will eventually come off. But my genuine thoughts this time around are Chelsea have always known how to look after Spurs. So sometimes, no matter how bad you are, you know how to look after a particular team. So maybe that will help Chelsea this time around. Then they have a manager who would have all his pride on the line. He would hate to lose that game. So I don't know if it will be the cost of the X coming back to earn Spurs and then giving them their first loss of the season. But however it pans out, it's going to be a very, very interesting game, 100%. That's one you don't want to miss on Monday night. So I can't tell what the results will be, because you just don't know how the factors will come together. Chelsea don't play many games these days, but they won the last one anyway in the Carabao Cup, because they're not in the Champions League or anything. So maybe they'll be a little bit fresher. But Spurs also, they're not playing many games. It's almost like 2 teams who are fresh. Chelsea don't have the resources 100% to win that game, but I think they might have the heart, because it's the London derby. And when it comes to derbies, usually it's not always the form team that wins. It's just down to who wants it more on the day. So overall, hard to tell, but I'm going to say, if I have to call it, my head tells me, because of the Pochettino effect and because of the club captain, 99.9% starting, is that enough time to get back in the team? And like you said, they have a solid defense, Chelsea. They're not a bad team at the back. I think they might be able to withstand. Gallagher in the middle works very hard. Sterling is an England international. He knows a great occasion, and he definitely will want to put one over Spurs. So there's a lot of good reasons why Chelsea may do well. I just don't think they would have enough to beat Spurs, not at all. But I think they might just have enough to finish that game with a 1-1. So it's more in hope rather than in anticipation that I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. But I know Spurs should be stronger than them. But sometimes you have to say it the way you want it to be. So I'm backing Chelsea. Chelsea fans, you can thank me later. 1-1 Chelsea Spurs.
The 1-1 for Chelsea. It's definitely going to be a very, very interesting game. Last games to round up the Premier League before we go into the Champions League again. And
that's why they're playing on Monday night. The 2 teams have nothing doing on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yes, that's very true, because they are not, and maybe that might be an advantage for Spurs, right? Because now they are playing once every 6-7 days.
Yeah, so they have enough time to recover and go again. They can put
exactly.
99% on the pitch or 105%.
And considering that Chelsea were in the cup competition and Tottenham were not, they've been fully rested, putting their legs up, for the last couple
And
of days.
sometimes it's a curse as well, because it just means you might have been lazy in training and you're not really up for it on the day. So, but if you're training regularly and you're playing, you might have the rhythm as a team to really have a go. So sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't. So
Yeah,
let's see how
you're
it works
right. I
this
mean,
time.
it can be tricky managing.
Yeah, Man City won the treble playing all competitions last season, didn't they? So
That's true. Okay,
sometimes
well,
that rhythm helps a team, and sometimes it's a curse because you don't have the
yeah.
strength in depth and your players are lazy.
So,
Essentially.